Thanks for watching WSYR Plus. I'm Andrew Donovan with a special look back at the mayoral career of Ben Walsh, who leaves office after 2 terms and 8 years. I recently got to spend much of a day with the mayor at work.
And how about Southwest?
Most constituents will never see it, but Ben Walsh considers this his favorite part of the work week.
Do we have a sense of when?
A meeting of the mayor's department heads, from police to parks, fire to finance, and everything in between.
So IT's focus is more than ever on 1153.
Something to celebrate? The new trash carts. Not one sanitation worker reported a shoulder injury this year. After the agenda, the mayor goes round the room. Everyone gets a turn to talk.
Evan, Rick, Jeremy.
Morning, Mayor. Kind of licking our wounds from the storm.
This group knows the city better than anyone else, but still the mayor throws in a pop quiz.
Anybody want to guess what department uses the most fuel?
DPW. Of course.
No.
SPD.
SPD.
Here, the people aren't political. These 90 minutes show the true beating heart of city government.
All right, team. Thanks. Have a great day. Keep up the good work.
After the meeting at One Park Place, the mayor and I head to his office at City Hall.
Good morning, Jakia.
On the day's agenda, a meeting with Common Council leaders and a groundbreaking for remodeled public housing. But back at City Hall, the mayor shows us his office before everything gets packed up.
This table, my desk, the credenza over there, they're all stickly. They were in my father's congressional office.
He'll keep the furniture and the memorabilia, but is dreading the closet cleanout.
I love that they're the city trash cans.
You know, I asked for trash cans and these ones popped up.
They pop out too, considering the rest of the room's aesthetic. A museum to his mayorship.
My favorite coasters are these, which my wife had made. These are drawings that my daughter Brina made of Syracuse landscapes. So this is, I mentioned, favorite park.
An office centerpiece is a picture of former Mayor William Walsh, the same photo in Ben's campaign office 8 years ago, before he was elected.
I've never shied away from my family history. I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my grandfather, my father, my mother. Family is everything.
Ben followed in their footsteps, but found his own direction.
I thank the mayor and his team for allowing us to spend that time with him. And then I recently sat down with Mayor Walsh for his final interview on Newsmakers. He's been a guest on Newsmakers more than any other person the last 8 years, 22 times since being elected mayor, including today. Hopefully not his last appearance ever, but last as mayor. Ben Walsh joins us. Welcome.
Great to be back. I did not know that number. That's a lot.
22 as mayor, 22. Including today.
Wow.
23 if we include the time you sat down with Dan Cummings as a candidate for mayor.
I remember that. I was much more nervous for that one than I am this one.
Yeah, you seem pretty chill, and that's good. That means you're off to a good final couple weeks. Is it setting in?
Big time. Yeah, it didn't for much of the year. Then the election happened, and then it became a little more real. And then, but I kept saying I would just show up for work, and I had plenty of emails to respond to or places to go. And then I think really when December hit and I realized that I had to start packing up my office, which I've been doing a lot of lately, it really hit home. But I feel really good. It's bittersweet, but I'm ready.
This weekend, the governor announced your new job as the executive director of the State Canal Corporation. How did that come about?
So, Governor and I have had a really good relationship, and I'd say, I don't know, within the past year or so, the governor, every time I would see her, would maybe start with, hey, what are you thinking for your next move? And then it was, would love to have you on the team if it makes sense. And so it just kind of built from there, and looked at a couple different opportunities, but ultimately when my criteria, the primary criteria was staying in Syracuse. I want to continue to serve, but I wasn't willing to move to Albany or New York, and so the current director, Brian Stanton, former Schenectady mayor, announced he was retiring. I ran into the governor when she was in town, and she mentioned it, and here we are. So it's a really good fit. I'm excited.
Your dad is obviously a longtime congressman. Your grandfather was mayor and then congressman. How does this state role for you fit into that Walsh legacy of service, that continuity of your family's service?
Well, that's it. It's service. It's public service, which, I did look at other opportunities in the private sector and the nonprofit sector, but this is what I This is what I grew up in. This is what I know. This is what I studied when I went to Maxwell, and it just feels right for me. I'm 46 years old. I've got a lot more time to give. But again, I was just looking for something different. I want to give Mayor-elect Owens the opportunity to have space and not have me hovering around. So this is just a really good balance of being able to serve, doing it in a different way. It's a challenge. I have a lot to learn, but still being here in Syracuse, which is home.
You'll be in state government, which means you won't be too far away from politics, but are you done with elected politics?
I certainly am now, and I have a hard time seeing myself doing it in the future, but as I mentioned, I'm young, things could change, but I've always loved the service part, the politics part not so much, and so I'm looking forward to being done with that part of it. Of course, it's going to influence my world in my new role, and if I'm called back to it, I'm open to the idea. But right now, I think this is exactly the right move for me.
We're going to spend a lot of time today walking down memory lane, and I want to. We have a compilation of you on Newsmakers over the years, so we can see how you've. That was one of your first appearances with Dan Cummings, not your very first, because when you were elected, your interview with Dan was at the Marriott Syracuse downtown when they were building the studio.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the first time you were in the studio with Dan as the mayor of Syracuse. Nice. And then that is your very first interview on Newsmakers. You were a candidate, and here we go. This is the... I'm
waiting to see if I'm wearing the same tie. I bet you in one of them I am. Oh, there it is.
And once in a while, you throw the facial hair in, and then there was the pandemic era.
Right, yeah. Wow. That's wild. It's a lot of time spent in the studio.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. 23 times, including that time as candidate. What was up with the facial hair?
Something new. I wasn't sure that I could do it, and I did it, and my wife liked it, which was the most important thing. So who knows? Maybe it'll come back again.
Well, there you go. Now you have a little bit more flexibility, I think, and sneaking those things in for a week and maybe not being seen by all of us.
Maybe.
I got to spend some extended time in City Hall recently and with you for part of your schedule so I could see you at work. Including the department head meeting, which you have every single Wednesday and have had for 8 years. Yeah. It struck me that you told me it's one of your favorite parts of the week.
Absolutely. I think it is my favorite. I said it again. We had our last formal department head meeting just the other day, and I told them that it was my favorite part of the week, and they are among some of my favorite people in the world. And so it's just to have everybody together to hear how smart people are, how they're all subject matter experts in their own right, and at the end, as you saw, we always have some a formal agenda, but at the end we just do the round robin, and it's just really fun, and yeah, I'm going to miss those.
As a reporter, it was great for me to see, but as a constituent of the city of Syracuse, it was amazing to see city government seemingly work very effectively.
Yeah.
It was really, really a privilege for me to sit in on that, so I thank you for allowing it. We have Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh here for the final time as the mayor. We hope he'll come back in future capacities, but we have him one more time as the mayor, and thank you for being here. What's been the hardest part about being the mayor of Syracuse?
There are so many challenges. I think for me, it's dealing with the tragedy in the community, the homicides, the moments where I feel the most powerless. Having to talk to a family member who's just lost a loved one is brutal. And while I often do feel powerless, I feel like the least that I can do for our constituents is to be present in those moments, but the loss of life is just, it's really hard.
Well, I think of Dior Harris,
yeah.
I think of Brexia Lee Torres Ortiz.
Yeah.
I know that each one of those in some way resulted in the amount of change you made to the police department, but also the introduction of the mayor's office to reduce gun violence, what seem now to be very successful evolutions of public safety.
Yeah, well, I mentioned feeling powerless, but when you're in those moments, my first thought is, how can we avoid this, or what could have prevented this from happening? And so that, those tragic moments did serve as inspiration and motivation for us to try different things. The worst thing that you can do is just throw your hands up and say, this is how it's going to be. And so, and I'm a big proponent, at those department head meetings, I probably say once a week, folks, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's go see what community is doing this better than we are. Let's replicate it, let's modify it for our needs. And so, again, the mayor's office to reduce gun violence, that wasn't our idea. Other communities had done that. The Police Athletic and Activities League, another one that other communities were doing. So, again, just looking for best practices and always trying to make change and to solve problems.
What would you say is your proudest accomplishment?
That one is really hard. I struggle with that one. I'll go back to the team. I think the people that we've assembled in city government, and I've worked in a different administration. I've worked with the city for many years. I think the people that we assembled in city government rivals any, not just here in Syracuse, but in any other community. Besides that, I think I'm really proud of the way we balanced focusing on the small things, the day-to-day quality of life issues, whether it's sidewalks or trash or roads, while also taking some really big swings from 81 to the STEAM school to the Syracuse Developmental Center. It wasn't an either-or proposition. We did both, and I think we did both well.
Speaking of the trash cans, trash carts, sorry.
Right.
In front of me is some pretty interesting evolution in the amount spent on shoulder injuries for sanitation workers.
Yeah.
In 22, it was almost $150,000. In 23, it was just over $50,000.
Right.
In 24, it was $257. Right. And in 2025, the year looks like it'll end at $0. That means 0 injuries to shoulders among the team at your sanitation department.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that. That was the primary motivating factor. That was literally back and shoulder breaking work, and the city had just gotten into a really bad habit, and for the right reasons, wanting to keep the city clean, but people would put anything on the curb, and our sanitation workers would eventually pick it up, and it cost them dearly. It cost them in terms of their health, and it cost the city in terms of our finances. And so that is a really big accomplishment that I'm proud of, as well as, again, helping clean up the city, which has also been a priority.
I have 2 parts to this question. Is there something you were hoping to accomplish that got really close, but you couldn't? And then is there something you wanted to accomplish, maybe a pipe dream, that just was either not feasible or just impossible? Yeah,
again, I talk about some of those big swings. I mean, 81, when I ran in 2017, was mired in debate and division, and
the tunnel was still being discussed.
Tunnel was still being discussed. The useless additional study that they undertook, and that was one of the first things I said to Governor Cuomo. I said, Governor, we got to figure out this 81 thing. The community grid is the right option. The data supports it. Let's go. And he challenged me to bring together the supporters, understanding we were never going to have full consensus in the community. And we did that. We delivered letters of support for the governor, and ultimately helped push that over the finish line. So that one was one that I think people thought might never get done. And again, some of those small things as well. I mean, people have been lamenting about the condition of our sidewalks forever, whether it's lack of snow clearance or just literally crumbling. And we created a municipal sidewalk program, something that, again, I don't think people thought was possible. So again, on both the big areas and the small ones, we did some things that really needed to be done, and that many thought couldn't. In terms of things that didn't get done, I really do feel like everything that I set out to do, I either accomplished or put in place, so it will happen. I think the biggest challenge were the projects that we didn't have full control over. Housing, for example, we have to partner with developers. The financing is complicated, and so there are certainly some projects. I was glad that we got the East Adams phases 1 and 2 off the ground. Maria Regina is one that I'm really anxious to see get over the hump, and I think it will, but it still isn't quite there yet. So those are the projects that, again, if I would have liked to push faster if I could, but I pushed as hard as I could.
First independent mayor in a century, and he is now concluding his 8-year, 2-year term, and the mayor is our guest on Newsmakers as mayor for one last time. We do hope he'll be back in other job titles, but we're happy to have you as mayor one more time. In front of me here is a transcript of your 2019 State of the City address, and it was one of the first times you publicly touted your vision, which is Syracuse will be a growing city that embraces diversity and creates opportunity for all. And under that is achieving fiscal sustainability, delivering city services effectively, efficiently, and equitably, increasing economic investment and neighborhood stability, and providing quality constituent engagement and response.
Amen.
You've done all 4.
I have, yeah. Again, there's, as I've mentioned before, I realized early on there's no finish line. There's no checking those boxes and saying we're done. But the goal of public service and elected office is to move the ball forward, to make things better. And in each one of those objectives, I feel like we've done that. Again, we hammered those home. Literally every department head meeting we checked in on a variety of fronts to move those objectives forward. And that vision, when you look at it, again, I think we're closer. We are, in fact, growing. Our population grew in the last census for the first time in 70 years. We're creating opportunities for everyone in the community and really focusing to make sure that we maximize the community benefit of these huge projects. And we've embraced our beautiful diversity in our city. We're blessed to have people from all over the world that come and call Syracuse home, and that's something that we're very proud of.
I've spoken with some of your cheerleaders, and one thing they consider among your biggest accomplishments is in some ways preparing the city of Syracuse to be a partner to a company like Micron.
Right.
Through the Syracuse Surge project and preparing a workforce for something like a major company like Micron.
Yeah.
Do you see some of those early roots in that idea that came from you and how it's about to perhaps fit in with the whole Micron puzzle?
Absolutely, and I do have to say, all of it's a team effort. Very few ideas were mine directly, but when you look at Syracuse Surge, we surveyed the economic landscape. We looked at the industries that were driving the new economy, whether it be semiconducting, AI, Internet of Things, UAS. And we began to look at every phase of life, from K through 12 to college to adult workforce development, and said, where are the gaps in those systems that we need to fill in order to make sure that people in the city, no matter where you are, have the skills necessary to compete in the new economy. And so that's what led to things like the STEAM School, like partnering with the SUNY Educational Opportunity Center on adult workforce development. And then when we paired that with Syracuse Build, which was about getting people ready to actually do the construction on these projects, there are more city residents, more people of color, more women, more veterans working on 81 and other construction projects because of Syracuse Build. And I have no doubt that'll be the case with Micron as well.
How does that journey continue without you? I mean, I know you're fully confident in your successor, who you endorsed early on. I mean, you made her your deputy mayor as one of your first decisions, Sharon Owens, and will become mayor next. But aside from what you know she'll bring to the table, what does the city need to do as a group to continue on that path?
Yeah, well, I do have to say, I mean, having Mayor-elect Owens in this position provides a level of continuity in city government that we haven't seen, I'm not sure, in how long. So that certainly helps. I think beyond that, it's just reiterating the things that got us to this point. One of the big things that I campaigned on that I think I've been successful in is collaboration and partnership. And every time we have a win, again, whether it's 81, whether it's Micron, I've tried to reinforce it's because of the alignment and leadership that we have in this community in both the private and public sector. It's what works. And so I hope that I've developed a model, and I hope that people that follow will see what works and not feel the need to reinvent the wheel. There's always going to be need for changing and adjusting, but again, I think that we have put in place models that simply work, and people will be well served to continue.
Are you disappointed the Christopher Columbus statue is still standing?
That's a hard question to answer. I mean, I think that that monument has been standing for 90 years, and the local Italian-American heritage that it represents to many is important, and something that I could have, under the in the throes of the protests in 2020, in the interest of public safety, just ripped it down. I didn't want to be like other communities. I didn't want to see other people tear it down, and I didn't want to just take it down or put it in a box. I wanted to have a thoughtful, deliberative, peaceful process, and I think in that case we did. It ultimately, largely due to litigation, it resulted in it still standing today. I'm less concerned about when it comes down as I am about how it comes down. And again, from the very beginning, I wanted to do it in a way that honors our local heritage, that puts it in a place where people that care about it can still access it, but ultimately find a new way in one of our most prominent public spaces to honor our Italian American heritage, honor the fact that we are on the ancestral lands of the Onondaga Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and celebrate the beautiful diversity of our entire city.
In our final few moments, I want to get to a lot, so I'll ask you to try to keep these brief. Can you identify a best day in office?
No.
Can you identify a worst day in office?
I will say I had many amazing days. Worst day in office is unfortunately easy when Officer Jensen and Lieutenant Husak were murdered. It was just an awful, awful dark day.
What's your advice to incoming Mayor Sharon Owens?
Be yourself, listen, go with your gut, and just don't forget that you are a public servant and we serve the constituents in the city.
To other leaders of other jurisdictions, whether it's the county executive or your state partners, what's your outgoing advice to those people?
Keep working hard to collaborate and partner. It's hard work. It's okay to disagree as long as everyone's willing to come back to the table. I think we've all done a good job at that lately.
You've been very brief with those, so I appreciate it. We can take a little more time for the last few questions. How have your wife and daughters fared the last 8 years, and how are you looking forward to returning some of your time to them?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, looking back at the pictures from when we started 8 years ago, that's a lifetime, and you know, with kids growing up, and my oldest daughter's 16 now, my youngest is 12, and you know, much of their conscious lives have been with me as mayor, and so I think it's an adjustment for them, but it's one that they're excited about, and certainly I can say that about my wife, Lindsay. She's ready. She has been just an amazing partner and rock for me. She has held it down at home for the past 8 years while working a full-time job, and I think we're all excited for the change. But I think we all feel really good about how we did this together over the past 8 years.
Please thank them for their service and letting the city borrow you for 8 years. And for my final question, I will basically give you free rein. What would your message be to this community?
Just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. This has been just an incredible experience, and I'm just so proud of this community. I think we are incredibly resilient. I think, as I said, you know, in my first State of the City, I truly believe our best days are ahead of us. I think we are moving closer towards that vision. So just thank you for the opportunity to serve, and I can't wait to see what's ahead for all of us as I continue to be a proud member of the Syracuse community.
Well, it's been an honor to cover you and your administration. It's neat for me to be able to say I covered you from day one as mayor to year 8. So that's an honor and a privilege. And your team has been incredibly accessible to us at News Channel 9, you personally and the team you've built.
Yeah.
And so I thank you and I thank all of them for their hard work. Special thanks to Greg Lowe on your team, who I know is wrapping up his city service too.
He's the best.
Mayor Walsh, thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.
Earlier this year, right after the election, I had incoming Mayor Sharon Owens on Newsmakers to talk about her future term, plus a special surprise. This week, history was made in Syracuse, the first black mayor elected in the city's history, and she did it with an overwhelming majority. Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens is our guest on Newsmakers. She is now mayor-elect. Welcome, mayor-elect.
Thank you.
How does that title sound?
I'll get used to it.
We'll all happily get used to it with you. Has the whole thing sunk in yet?
Today, I finally got time to just woosah a little bit, getting a lot of calls Tuesday, obviously, but also Wednesday. And so, yeah, it's starting. I'm gonna take a couple days, spend some time with my husband, and it's back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You're still the deputy mayor
Yeah,
with a lot of work to do.
absolutely.
What was election night like now that you've had some time to digest it?
It was electric. I'm starting to see pictures of the crowd. how much fun people were having. As we were waiting for the results to come in, I kind of got worried to my team, worried about the crowd getting antsy, and they were like, oh no, they're having a good time down there. So it was great.
You had a commanding lead really the entire time. The polls closed at 9, but
Right.
you led
Right.
the whole night.
Right.
Were you that confident going in? Did you see that kind of result coming?
I never take anything for granted. I've been saying this entire campaign, no matter what people would say to me about, you're going to do well. I'm a former athlete. We run through the tape. You lose races by looking sideways and not paying attention to the end of the race. So until somebody called it, I didn't win.
Yeah. And then once it was called, nearly 75% of the electorate,
Right.
that in itself is
Right.
a historic margin of victory. What do you make of that number?
You know, Andrew, it's no secret. I've never run a campaign. I've never been a politician. I've been a community servant and a public servant in City Hall. But I'm leaving it up to those folks who like to crunch numbers to really tell me what this means. And that number, people are telling me, is a phenomenal history-making number in our community. And so it just says a lot for me personally that people heard my message, believed me, trust me, and came out to vote for me.
You'll be the second woman as mayor ever. You worked for the first one. It was
Yes, I
Stephanie
did.
Miner. But you'll be the first black mayor in the city's history.
Yeah.
What does that historic title mean to you?
Yeah, I kind of spoke about that at the speech that night. It's two sides for me. One is I spoke to the elders in our community, those folks who are 70, 80, 90 years old, those folks who were here when the viaduct was built, who for many years wondered whether or not this Syracuse would ever be in a position or ready to elect someone black to be the mayor of this city. And I'm so happy that many of them were in that room last night. And I saw them at the Dunbar Center for the breakfast that morning. To be able to say that they voted for me that day meant a lot. A lot of people talked about Barack Obama in that moment in history and my moment in history. And then on the other side, after I gave the speech, I went down to just hug as many people as I could. And the number of young women who came up to me, just hugging me, tears in their eyes, saying, "We're so proud of you. We can't believe this is going on." They just saw that what happened to me is attainable, and that what they can try to do in their lives is attainable for them.
We hear Governor Hochul speak a lot about being the first mother as governor, and I just wonder how your experience as a black woman will influence your governance.
I mean, I'm a black woman. I'm a 62-year-old black woman. I've raised through the 70s and 80s and into the 90s. I have two grown children. One is 35, who really wants to experience what Syracuse means to that group of individuals who are young professionals in this community across all ethnicities and races, and what Syracuse will be for them. This work I'm doing is for us to prepare this community for my daughter's generation. And then I have my 25-year-old son that I'm bringing in perspective of a young man with developmental disability who sees and feels and hears our world differently. What does housing mean for him? What does the way he interacts with our city government mean for him? Grateful to the school district for everything they were able to do. He graduated from OCC. So bringing those perspectives.
Not even 24 hours after your results were known, you got a very special phone call.
I did.
Tell me who it was and what she had to say.
I got a heads up from the national president of the Working Families Party that Kamala Harris's team wanted to get in touch with many of us upstate after the election. And I said, okay, you know, what zip code am I going to be looking for? Because, you know, I clearly don't have her phone number. And then all of a sudden a private came across my phone and I was, okay, pick it up. And I said, hey, this is Sharon Owens. And then I heard that voice. Her voice is very distinctive. And she said, hi, Mayor-elect, this is Kamala Harris. And I said, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe that moment was happening. Andrew, a young woman last year, I had to talk her out of bed for 3 days because she was so disappointed and so just distraught about Kamala Harris losing the presidential election. And she called me, that young lady called me the morning of the election, said, a year ago I was crying. This year I feel joy because I know you're going to win. And so I shared that with Ms. Harris, and shared it with the young lady that she called me. It was just a surreal moment.
What would you go back to your memories of being a little girl in Geneva, a little black girl, who 60 some odd years later is not only mayor-elect, but is getting a phone call from the first black woman who was almost president of the United States?
Growing up in that small town that was extremely diverse. I don't think people realize how diverse the Finger Lakes really is. Being there, Hobart and William Smith is very much a college town.
My alma mater.
SU is bigger, but it's a college town. And so really growing up in that community and growing up in a place where people looked out for each other and where I learned very early that your life is not just about you. It is about what you can do to help other people. And that's the foundation of who I am, and that's who I've been as I went to SU, graduated from SU, stayed in this community. It's always been about what can I do to help the other person.
But to think about getting that phone call as a little girl, I just...
No. Getting that phone call as a 62-year-old woman, I was just awestruck. These are amazing people.
What did your mom think of that phone call? What did your daughter think of that phone call?
Everyone was like, what? That's amazing. It's amazing that, it was just amazing that she thought enough that she saw what we were doing here, what I did in my campaign. Many people have told me that, Sharon, I know you're new to this. You're not a politician. You never run an election. But Rachel May came to me, and I remember her transformative election when she first won. And I thought she had an amazing team. She told me, Sharon, you probably had the best team I've ever seen. We just pulled a team together of just enthusiastic people and kept the message. And for Kamala Harris and the governor and Senator Gillibrand, and the list goes on, to call and say, congratulations, you ran a campaign of integrity and about the issues.
You had seasoned politicians telling you, a non-seasoned politician, that you had a great,
a
superior campaign team. So the newsmaker perhaps of the year in Syracuse is Mayor-elect Sharon Owens. She's our guest. The same week she won, becoming the first black person to become mayor in the history of the city of Syracuse. You may be paying attention. You weren't the only new mayor in New York State as January comes. You had Zoran Mamdani win in New York City, but then you had some governor's races, a little bit more of moderate Democrats winning in New Jersey and Virginia. What did Tuesday teach you about your party?
I think that what I learned is that when motivated, we have to motivate the electorate. People still, even with the number of people that came out across the country, people still did not vote. And so that is the onus of that is not on the voter. The onus of that is on us in public office to really begin to motivate. During the course of this next term for me, I really want to not run city government, but also motivate young people to really re-engage themselves in public policy, to understand the role of the city, to understand the role of the county, to understand the role of the school district. Because many people don't know the different arms of government. And I think to be empowered, to be a voice that is effective, you have to know the delineation of those services so you can be effective.
Yeah, most off-year, odd-year elections get only about 1/3 of registered voters turning out. Where are the other people?
Right. I just think that people, the momentum, really a lot of media and a lot of press that is nonstop during national elections. And then when you come into the local arena, but the local is where it's impactful. The local is where you're going to call City Hall or get on our City Hall app and say, this sidewalk isn't repaired or this street light is out. That is not going to happen at the national level. And so helping people understand how important the local elections are is pivotal.
What would you say to upstate New Yorkers who see a very left direction for New York City and might be alarmed by it?
I think what they should understand is a very people-focused. I think in all intents and purposes, all of us want what's best for our city, our county, our state, our country. We just have different ideas of how to get there. Everyone wants people to be able to live safely. People want everyone to be able to eat, to be able to earn a living. Sometimes we differ on how to get there, and I think that is the danger and not the service to everyday people when we use, you know, labels for people. Everyday people don't care about that. They care about, can I get a good job? Can I feed my family? Are my children being educated? Do I live in a home that is healthy, safe, and affordable for me? And is my neighborhood safe?
Now you begin the transition from deputy
Yes.
mayor to mayor.
Yes.
What does that process look like? What is one of the first key decisions you have even before taking office?
So I'm going to begin to look at the platforms that I ran on, housing, youth. Youth is a big one for me because I want to get the voices of particularly young adults because we're building a future for them. And so I want to make sure I get them, working with the superintendent, but particularly the thing I'm really focused on in three areas, are housing, looking at the eclectic nature of how we can develop housing in our city, inclusive economy, making sure that all of these moments of growth in Syracuse affect the purses and the wallets of everyday people, and ensuring that our neighborhoods are safe and working with our police department and our fire department to keep people safe.
Sounds like the fire chief is staying on.
Yes.
Police chief is retiring. Who's the next police chief?
So the police chief is going to stay on just until January to help me transition. I think that is critical. Joe Cecil was a respected public servant. And so I know I'm going to hire from within. I am not going to say who that is. I'm going to talk to the chief. I'm going to ask him what's in the best interest of his force. It's still his force to make that transition. So we're not, we don't need awe and shock for the rank and file of either the police or the fire department. And so we're going to be methodical in that process.
The Walsh administration has had somewhat of a tough final year. The slashing of the city budget by the Common Council among that list of issues. Now with a reduced budget, having to face some of the same councilors, not all, how do you prepare for that fight?
So it's been no secret. Rita Paniagua ran unopposed. So I've been talking to her all summer long. Once I got through the primary, began having conversations. She's been a longtime friend of mine. Her being a friend of mine is in no way going to compromise her responsibility to be the checks and balances for city government, but I'm looking forward to working with someone. We have talked about us collaboratively. The budget responsibility is the executive and the legislative branch's responsibility. So we are going to get out of the blocks, coming together, pulling together a committee of us on the executive side and the legislative side, talk about my priorities, talk about their priorities, and come together to create a budget that when it comes to them, nothing is hopefully a surprise.
Two big topics I want to hit because
Sure.
they are critical for Central New York's future. Micron
Yes.
and the I-81 viaduct project. The project for I-81 is what it is, but what happens next is what happens to the land that's freed up that automatically is the state's.
Absolutely.
But do you want it as the cities to develop?
I absolutely want it as the cities to develop. We have been unapologetically sending that message from the time we were submitting comments for the DEIS environmental impact study process. City control. Let me say this first of all: the state and the local DOT have been great partners. We've been great communicators. We meet every other week to talk about, because that project is moving like gangbusters. But what we have not talked about yet is what happens when the highway comes down. And by the way, I'm putting my sneakers on and staying down there because I've never known this city without that highway, and I want to soak it in. But that land needs to be conveyed to the city of Syracuse, because then we can have, by mandate of our charter, a public process to understand the land use and the zoning that we want to see in that area. Without that, we don't have control over what could potentially happen there.
Real briefly with Micron, how do you make sure Syracuse, the city, benefits?
People want to see a shovel in the ground and how we get going. That's how we know it's real. I have been proud about the role I've been playing with workforce development. That's how we've been able to get people on the I-81 project. Individuals from that project coming to me saying, Sharon, for the first time in my life, I have taken my family on vacation. That is what work is about. We want the same thing in this Micron moment for people in this city, in this region, but particularly the city, to be able to have access to those jobs. So I'm a part of the on-ramp initiative, the $80 million workforce preparation for that. Continue to be a part of discussions with the economic drivers, the regional council, and individuals in our community, because it's not just going to be Micron. It's going to be residual companies coming to our region with the transportation that'll be needed to be able to get people, childcare that's going to be able to be needed, all of that will benefit. What we cannot have is what happened when I left the campus in '85, met friends of mine whose families were at GE, Miller Brewery, Carrier, New Process Gear, and those factories started to downsize. Those factories created a strong middle class, and then they left. People had to follow those jobs, or they got less skilled, less paid jobs. We cannot make that mistake again.
All right, we have a surprise for the mayor-elect. Mayor-elect, I want to bring in someone that's joining us in the studio. It's the executive director of the Onondaga Historical Association, Lisa Moore, who is walking in with an artifact from her collection.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know what this is, Mayor-elect?
No.
Okay. What is it, executive director?
Well, first of all, congratulations,
so much.
Deputy Mayor. We're excited, and what a historic moment. When you are sworn in January, we'll invite you to the Onondaga Historical Association to sign the mayor's book.
My goodness.
Which starts with Harvey Baldwin,
Wow.
our first mayor.
Wow.
And there is a space for you as our 55th mayor. Now, there are a couple spaces here. We had a couple of mayors who served twice, not consecutively.
Right.
But number 55 will be you.
It's going to be me.
And we have gloves for you if you want to
I do. I
give
just
it
wanna
a
touch it.
little touch.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is amazing.
This book is about 175 years old.
It is,
Harvey
yes.
Baldwin, the first mayor of Syracuse, signed it, and
Yep.
it's been a tradition ever since.
It
We
has.
strategically at the watch night had me speaking under his picture.
I noticed that. Yes. So
Oh, my
we're
goodness.
thrilled. And when you look at the list of mayors, the first thing, of course, I think of is, we're on the verge of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and I don't know if anybody would have thought at this time that we would have a black female mayor.
I know.
So we're truly making history, and you are going to be in a long list of people who had such an impact on this city, and
Oh,
I
my
know you will
goodness.
as well.
Thank
So
you.
we're thrilled.
Lisa, what year did Harvey Baldwin sign?
He signed in 1848.
So when you think of that year in
Yes.
American history, slavery was alive and well in
Yeah.
other parts of the country when that book was started.
Yeah.
And now you are the first black mayor, and you get to add your name to that same list.
I mean,
Yeah.
to hear you say, back when these signatures were there, that it probably wasn't perceived that someone like me could be mayor and sign this book. It was illegal.
It was illegal. It was, yes. And I remember when we were celebrating the anniversary of the Colored Men's Convention in Syracuse
right.
of 1864.
Wow.
You were in the crowd.
I was.
And I remember thinking, and you had just announced your candidacy, and I remember thinking, this very well could be a moment that the people whose shoulders we stood on would have been very proud.
Can there be some changes to this book? There's only one woman who signed her name in this book.
There's only one
before
other
me.
woman, and that
It's
was Stephanie Miner.
right there with her
Yes.
signature.
Yeah. And there's history just in this list. Of course, you have Mayor Walsh and
Yep.
his grandfather, William Walsh.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
But each one of these people has had a story that we also collect at OHA. That there's your career
Yes.
as mayor, the
Yes.
career you've had to this point
Yes.
as well, is collected in our materials. So we're
Amazing.
thrilled to add to the history.
This is overwhelming. This is amazing. I know I'm going to be a part of history, but literally to put my signature on this book is going to be
Yeah.
incredible.
When you walk into OHA, this is one of the first artifacts you see. We keep it in a case right in the entranceway.
Wow.
So
Wow.
your name will be ever present
Oh my goodness.
forever and ever.
This is great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so
This is a
welcome.
great
You're so
surprise.
welcome. I really appreciate that OHA was willing to bring an artifact
you.
out of the building.
I know,
I thought
I
I'd
know.
get a big no, but everyone was on
Well,
board.
Andrew's a board member, so he's my boss, really.
No, well, one percentage of your boss. We still have the book here in front of us, Mayor-elect Owens. You'll have to start practicing your autograph.
I have to get my. I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, you've signed it probably plenty of times. Checks back in the old days when we still did that. And I'm sure you signed some official documents. But
This is amazing.
well, thank you for letting us
you.
surprise you.
Thank you.
And thanks to the Onondaga Historical Association for
Yes.
bringing this by.
Yes.
But Mayor-elect Owens, congratulations.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
being here.
Thank you.
We look forward to a lot of these
To
conversations.
many more conversations.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That does it for my special coverage here on WSYR Plus. I'm Andrew Donovan. Have a great day.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.